The traditional story of our origins is one of fire, blood, and disappearance. For nearly a century, we have been taught that human history was defined by a series of violent replacements, a narrative where modern humans marched out of Africa like a conquering army, sweeping away the primitive Neanderthals and Denisovans until we were the only ones left. This is what scientists call hominin catastrophism. It frames our evolution as a sequence of abrupt biological turnovers, a dramatic saga of winners and losers, where the old world is wiped clean to make room for the new. But if we look closer at the evidence emerging from the dirt and our own cells, we find that this extinction story might be the greatest misunderstanding in the history of science. What if the people we call Neanderthals didn't actually die out, but instead were absorbed into the rising tide of humanity? What if the conquest was actually a convergence? Today, we are dismantling the framework of catastrophism to explore a much more complex and beautiful reality: the Metapopulation Model. This model suggests that the human story isn't a tree with many dead, snapped-off branches, but a vast, shimmering web of connectivity that has spanned hundreds of thousands of years. You are about to discover that you aren't just a member of a new species that arrived yesterday. You are the living, breathing culmination of a million-year-old global network that has never truly been broken. To understand why we are so obsessed with the idea of replacement, we have to look at the intellectual ghosts that still haunt our museums and textbooks. In the early 1800s, long before the discovery of DNA, a French scientist named Georges Cuvier proposed that Earth's history was defined by sudden, violent disasters. After each catastrophe, he believed, the old life was wiped clean and replaced by something entirely new and unrelated. Cuvier's worldview was explicitly anti-evolutionary. It denied the possibility of one species slowly transforming into another, favoring instead a narrative of total rupture. Although Darwinian evolution eventually replaced Cuvier's biology, this catastrophist shadow never truly left the study of human origins. When the first Neanderthal fossils were discovered, they weren't seen as our ancestors or even our cousins. They were categorized as a dead-end lineage, a failed experiment that lacked the spark of modern humanity. This was a decisive theoretical commitment made before we even had the evidence to back it up. We chose to see the prehistoric record as a series of non-overlapping boxes, assuming that morphological differences, like a heavier brow or a broader chest, automatically meant reproductive isolation. By focusing entirely on these physical gaps, we blinded ourselves to the deeper connections. We turned gradual regional transitions into discrete extinction events, looking for a catastrophe simply because that was the only framework we had been taught to use. If we step away from the catastrophe model, a new picture emerges, one that is far more coherent with the reality of how large, mobile populations actually behave. This is the Metapopulation Model. Instead of seeing isolated groups in Africa, Europe, and Asia as different species competing for a single prize, we should see them as a broad, interconnected network stretching across a vast geographic corridor. From the Atlantic coast to the Narmada Valley in India, prehistoric humans were part of a shared evolutionary landscape, a single biological system that pulsed with the rhythm of the changing climate. Consider the famous sites that are usually kept in separate chapters of history: Cima de los Huesos in Spain, Jebel Irhoud in North Africa, and the Narmada site in South Asia. In the old model, Cima is Proto-Neanderthal, Irhoud is Early Sapiens, and Narmada is a lost archaic form. But in the metapopulation framework, these are just regional expressions of the same species. The Sahara was not always a desert barrier. During green Sahara periods, it was a lush bridge. During favorable climates, these populations expanded and interacted. During ice ages, they retreated into refugia, developing local traits like the cold-adapted physique of the north or the heat-adapted structure of the south. But they were never truly isolated. Gene flow and cultural exchange ensured that information and biology were constantly being uploaded and downloaded across the entire network. The clean replacement theory didn't fall apart because of a new fossil. It fell apart in the laboratory. When scientists finally sequenced the Neanderthal genome in 2010, the results were a hammer blow to the idea of catastrophism. If we had truly replaced the Neanderthals through extinction, our DNA would be purely sapiens. However, the data proved that nearly everyone alive today who isn't of purely sub-Saharan African descent carries a significant percentage of Neanderthal DNA. This isn't just a minor footnote. It is a smoking gun that proves these groups were not reproductively isolated. They didn't see each other as alien species. They recognized each other as fellow humans, and they raised families together. The web of our ancestry is even more complex than we imagined. We have found Denisovan DNA in modern Asian and Pacific populations, and we see evidence of ghost populations in Africa that mixed and merged for hundreds of thousands of years. There was no single origin village, and no clean out of Africa wipeout. The archaeological record backs this up. There is no clear line where Neanderthal tools end and sapiens tools begin. Instead, we see transitional industries and shared symbolic behaviors, like jewelry making and burial rites, appearing in both groups. The catastrophe of replacement is an artifact of our own modern classification systems, not a reflection of the fluid, messy, and interconnected reality of the Pleistocene world. To make this global network tangible, we have to look at the individuals who actually lived within it. These aren't just museum specimens, they are the witnesses of our shared integration. Take the case of Deni, a teenage girl who lived about 90,000 years ago in a cave in Siberia. When her DNA was tested, the results staggered the scientific community. Her mother was a Neanderthal, and her father was a Denisovan. Deni wasn't a member of a species in the traditional sense. She was a bridge. She was a first-generation hybrid, living proof that the boundaries we draw in our textbooks were completely ignored by the people actually walking the earth. Then, there is the fossil known as Oase 1 from Romania. This man lived 40,000 years ago and possessed a jawbone that looked remarkably modern. Yet, his DNA told a different story. He had a Neanderthal ancestor just 4 to 6 generations back, literally a great-great-great-grandparent. He was a modern human who likely grew up hearing stories from elders who were part Neanderthal. Finally, consider the Lapido child in Portugal, buried with a pierced shell and wrapped in red ochre 24,500 years ago. This child lived thousands of years after Neanderthals were supposedly extinct. Yet, his body was a perfect mosaic, the chin of a modern human paired with the sturdy, powerful limbs of a Neanderthal. These individuals were not anomalies. They were the rule, showing us that for tens of thousands of years, the human story was one of gradual genetic absorption rather than a biological wipeout. Why does it matter that we shift our perspective from replacement to continuity? It matters because when we view history as a series of catastrophes, we view ourselves as separate from the world around us. We see nature as something to be conquered, and other groups as obstacles to be supplanted. This mindset has defined much of our modern era, leading to a sense of isolation and a belief that our success depends on the failure of others. But the Metapopulation Model offers a different, more powerful lesson. It tells us that our greatest strength as a species is not our ability to destroy, but our ability to connect. Neanderthals are not a failed experiment, and Homo Sapiens are not a sudden arrival. Both are expressions of a deeper, more ancient lineage that spans continents and ages. The people of Sima, Irhud, and Narmada were not isolated beginnings. They were integral parts of a single, unfolding story. When we let go of the catastrophe myth, we restore evolution to its proper form. We stop looking for endings and start looking for transformations. We realize that the other was always a part of us. The final message for all of us is one of profound unity. We are the unbroken thread. We carry the resilience of the Neanderthal, the adaptability of the Denisovan, and the curiosity of the African pioneers all within us. We have always survived by crossing boundaries, by merging, and by adapting together. As you look forward into an uncertain future, remember that you are the product of a world that refused to stay divided. We are not the ones who replaced the world. We are the ones who became the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the deep past. If this perspective on our ancient ancestry changed how you see yourself and our species, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of our origin. Stay curious, stay connected, and I will see you in the next exploration.